Millennials, yeah, we back at it again. Versus the world, you know that we gon' win. Right by my side, got my family and kin. Go, K-Dot. MW, man, this podcast is tough. K-Dot like Giannis, he keep it above. Millennials up and we ain't getting stuck. No, they ain't ready, you think we gon' stop? Maryland and DC, we got it on lock. Tune in, we live, and you know we the spot. Panels and parties, you know how we rock. Millennials versus the world. Millennials versus the world. Millennials versus the world.
Millennials versus the world.
What up, man? This is Millennials vs. the World podcast. I'm going to try to hold my excitement through the beginning, but I can't. If y'all been rocking with the Wellness Project, which a lot of people have been, I got all these dope individuals in the same room today, man. So we're going to start this way by introducing yourselves, and we're going to get right into it.
What's up, y'all? My name is Britt, owner of Profit Fitness, and I have a man of many traits, but yoga is my foundation. But I also do personal training, kickboxing, strength and conditioning, all the things under the sun. But I really love what I do. There it is.
I gotta follow up with that.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I know, right?
Can I go last?
We in it, we're in here.
Right. I'm Tori and
I'm Amber Morris.
And we both co-own Unified Nutrition together. So my aspect of the company, I help with the personal, one-on-one personal training and fitness. So we'll design it specifically to you and Amber.
And then I'm a certified nutrition coach. I offer nutrition coaching, and I also manage our social media and create all of our fancy documents.
Yes.
Nice.
My name is Destinee Smith. I am a therapist and a yoga instructor, a bar instructor, and I own a business, a test prep company for counselors called Study Stoop.
I don't want to follow that.
Yeah.
How I do it. I be like, hey, how you doing? How you going? And it's your favorite fun size, travel size therapist, also known as Dr. Ashley Elliott, also known as Dr. Vivid. I am a doctor of clinical psychology. I'm a motivational speaker and author, a mom of 2 kids who have a Target addiction that everyone blames on me. And I'm also a mental health advocate, a special education advocate, and my specialties kind of run. So you can just ask me and I'll say yes or no.
Gotcha.
I am Dr. Daryl Johnson. I am a psychologist. I am a relationship therapist and coach. I'm also an author, a mom, a speaker, all kinds of things, but relationships are my thing, and I'm really happy to be here with all these great minds in the room.
For sure. So this is where I want to go first. So we all sat down individually. Everybody knows your stories that they're posted, so we won't have to get into that. But I kind of want to tap into the very first thing is like, overall, social media is killing us right now as a culture, as a world. What do y'all feel like, and anybody can take it first and we'll bounce from there, what do y'all feel like the state of wellness is overall as a society? Meaning, like, where are we at with it? Do you think it's still a long way to go? Are we looking progressive? How do y'all see it from what y'all experience, and like overall, where do y'all think we're at? What's the state of wellness right now?
I think that's an interesting question. And I'm not going to answer that question specifically yet, but I think it's an interesting question in light of where we just came from in quarantine, because the world had a major reset.
Factual.
And I think it's an important lens to look at how the world really had a reset we haven't had in hundreds of years, maybe, and how that has affected how everyone in society as a whole generates a view of wellness. So I just want to say that, and then let someone else take it from there. But
I can take it. I honestly think that social media has made wellness unrealistic when it comes to expectations and what it actually looks like. One, everything is a highlight reel. You see everyone's in transformation. You see everyone doing their thing, but they don't show you how they got there. They don't talk about the lows, like battling with mental health or battling with your weight loss journey and having gone this, going like that, the seasons of your weight loss journey and fitness journey and things like that. That part you just don't really see. You just see, oh yeah, I did this. And then you have people who are like, yeah, do this and you'll look just like me in 2 weeks. Really? 2 weeks, guys? Are we serious right now?
Yeah.
So I think that's my biggest issue with social media, is that it's making things so unrealistic as well. And also, like, think about when you see like those, spend the day with me, and like the bed is made so perfectly and their face looks so flawed. Come on now.
Yeah, facts.
Let's be real. Let's talk about what it really takes to go throughout your day. It is not as on point as social media makes it seem. So I think social media really makes it seem like everything is picture perfect, when that's just not the reality of the situation at all.
But how do y'all manage that? Because we think y'all are perfect. Like, being real, when we see, typically in any field, fitness, therapist, I'm married to a counselor, like, her whole staff thinks she knows everything, she's good all the time. How do y'all manage? Because right now, in this room, I would say one of our greatest marketing tools is social media for all of us, right? So like, how do y'all manage people thinking y'all are perfect, but y'all have to show? How do y'all manage that? People thinking y'all perfect and y'all know the ups and I think it was you the other day, Britt, that posted something like, I have my good days, bad days, up days, down days.
Yeah.
Like, how do y'all manage that? Because we do see y'all as like perfect in a sense. Not literally, but you understand what I mean. Like, people don't ever think y'all go through things like y'all do. So how do y'all manage that?
My mama should have named me Scotch Tape because I'm transparent, baby. I think with my clients and with social media, I show you when I'm going through something. I may not give you all the intimate details, but I'll let you know because the problem with social media is you only see something for a couple of seconds to a few minutes.
For sure.
So you see, like they see your wife coming through this office, but they don't know what she did on the cry she had on the way to work. I'm speaking from experience. You don't know how you looked at your phone and saw 4 messages about something business related that you are overwhelmed about. They don't know that this took 10 takes to do before it got here.
This took 10 takes for me.
10 takes for me. You don't know that I had to, in order to get my podcast recorded, I had to give my child 2 packs of fruit snacks, had to talk to the older one, had to get the levels of the volume in the house right, and then it's not real. First of all, perfection, there's no such thing. It's a concept created by people to push you to do something, to make you to work all the time to get their results, not yours.
That's a word.
Yeah. So you have to remember that every day looks different for everyone, and comparison is the thief of joy. I work too hard for that.
I would absolutely have to agree, especially the 10 takes. Because I got an almost 3-year-old.
Oh yeah.
And just and the stuff that you don't see, right? Like either it's pictures, interviews, podcasts, whatever it is, you got to get the house in order, the anxiety behind, oh my God, is somebody going to bust in here, or is it going to be like something loud going on? Is the dogs going to bark? Even in session, like it's so much. And I think I manage it by just talking about it, right?
Exactly.
Like just being human. And yes, people may think from the outside things may look a certain way, or you're a fitness instructor, or you're a therapist, or you're a MD, whatever it is, and you're supposed to know everything there is to know about your specialty. So I like to just shed some light on that and talk about the realness, of course not divulging too much, especially with clients, but just being human of, hey, I get it, I don't know where you've been through or what you've been through, or actually I could really relate to that. That's, pretty difficult or whatever it is, and just welcoming and normalizing that we're human and everyone doesn't see everything. So,
Yeah, to add to that, like social media really does have its downsides, and but also it has a lot of positives, like the destigmatization of trauma and like the normalization or kind of validation that social media sometimes brings to people about traumatic experiences, relationships, community grief, like especially during COVID and like police brutality, and we're having Black Lives Matter protests. Like there was a space for all of us to come together and like have that social media community bonding. And so as much as like there's that picture perfect, like sometimes anxiety that comes with viewing your feed if you haven't cultivated it correctly, and made sure that your community is a safe space that you really honor and enjoy. But there are upsides to social media too, and it can be incredibly validating to have that community.
Oh, I know you're about to say something, Britt.
No, that's an excellent point. I feel like there are people, again, who think weakness doesn't sell in our fields. But I do believe there's the other side to that, where being human sells as well and connects with people because it's real. And so that's what I do when I'm going through something. I'm having a tough week this week, to be real with y'all. I'm having a tough week, a tough day today. But it's about speaking about it. I'll get on my stories and I'll say, hey, I'm feeling this, but this is how I'm being accountable, and this is how I'm going to show up. And so that's important. And I get good feedback. It's not for other people. It's, for me, it just feels cathartic to do it. But I get good feedback from it. And it draws the people that are supposed to be in my life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Vulnerability is a superpower.
Absolutely.
Facts.
It's
Yeah.
scary.
My Jesus.
Yeah.
It
Took me a long
is,
time
though.
to figure that out.
It is. And I think also with that, like, the normal person in the room, y'all all fitness and smart, you know, so I'm just, you know what I'm saying, over here just chilling. I know, I'm just no. But what I was about to say, like, but from the other end, so this is where I feel like I have like a little bit of a cheat code, right? So my wife was in grad school, becoming a counselor and everything. So with the specific program she went to, it like, I can't remember, it was like a class about family where you had to go interview your family members, talk about like close but hostile relationships, and you got to ask people about things and family secrets come out. But I think to the vulnerability piece for me, it's like that takes a real safe place, like Destinee was saying, because that could end a lot of things if somebody takes something that's said in those moments. And the cheat code I was speaking on is like, I feel like I'm like secondhand certified a little bit because my wife, you know what I'm saying? Like she was
honorary.
You know what I'm saying? Honorary. I be identifying situations like, you know what? That's a trigger. I be identifying, but I be knowing like, you know, somebody triggered you. You projected. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I mean? But in all seriousness, I learned that while she did it, right? But because being her spouse makes me want to be more knowledgeable about what she goes through, because my wife's a Virgo. I don't know if y'all believe in the signs. She's real inward. Like her,
There you go,
her
Team Virgo.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Her rejuvenation process is very inward. It's like kind of like silent room, me and my son downstairs, let me get this. Mine is like this, talking to people, being out in the scene, and I can come back and be re-energized. So being able to tell people that you're like this way, because I believe we live in a world full of false introverts, if that makes sense, because we be talking about being an introvert and not really understanding the vulnerability it takes for people to say like, look, bro, this bothers me. I need to recharge this way in order to be like this. You know what I mean? Because I have a lot of friends that pick and choose. Let me not say that. I have a lot of friends that pick and choose the definitions of introvert. And where I'm going with this is that I believe vulnerability is something that, let me ask this to y'all. Do y'all think that's something you can be taught or we're born that way and then we learn how to not be vulnerable?
Oh, that's a good one.
I think it has a lot to do with how you grow up. So, like, for example, for me, I still notice, I never really realized until, like, I'm older that, like, I'm really just the same kid I really was, honestly. So, like, you can't yell at me. You yell at me, I'm crying and yelling back, and you're getting nothing out of me from this point. It's just gonna be a cry session, and I'm gonna have the last word. That's it. If you ask my mother, hey, Mom, what I got whipped for as a kid, it was because of my mouth going back and forth. So now that I'm an adult, it's like if you start yelling at me and I'm automatically like, oh yeah, we gotta go. It's defense mode constantly. So what I've had to learn about myself is that I need to learn how to take a beat and lose the fight. I hate losing the argument. Now I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Like, so now, like, vulnerability for me is losing the fight and not going back and forth. And it took me a long time to get there. I wish I would have figured it out when I was 10, but you know, you live and you learn.
Yeah, for sure.
But, and it's amazing how when you do that, you create this environment, at least for me, where you can actually have a conversation. Because I'm not trying to be as combative. But some people don't like that. Some people are, let's do it right now. Like, going back and forth with me. Now I'm like, I can't, because I'm going to hurt your feelings. And I don't want to hurt your feelings. Because I'm done damaging relationships. This is kind of where I'm at. And I think a lot of that, me learning how to be vulnerable and lose the fight. I lost. You got it. Okay. All right. Can I have a moment? So I think has a lot to do with what you experience as a child. That kind of turns into where you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Because it's kind of going back to triggers. Certain things are going to trigger you. You're like, do I respond to it like I usually do? Or do I take it, step back, and do something different?
Facts. Anybody else on the vulnerability tip? Did you learn it? You think it's open? Or what was it like for you all?
Mine is, yes, I definitely agree that the way you're raised impacts the way you view being vulnerable, because I remember initially as a child understanding vulnerability as being weak. and there being something wrong. Because if I am telling people how I feel, there must be something wrong. And that was what was highlighted by the adults. Like, oh, you're telling people how you feel, you're really soft, you're so sensitive, you have these extra emotions. And that made me uncomfortable. Because it's like, oh, so we're not supposed to talk about how we feel. And as an adult, well, as a teenager, I had bouts where I just would not open up to people. And I would go very much so inward. And then what happens? You explode because there's nowhere for that energy to go. So as an adult, probably around college, it's similar to that that moment of, what am I doing here? Of I am leaving spaces where I'm not being authentically me. I'm not being authentically myself if I can't express what's going on with me. And what kind of safe spaces am I cultivating in my life if I can't be authentically me? If I have to examine the friendships that I have, examine how I'm going after relationships or jobs, anything. And I think the vulnerability switch for me was when I realized I'm saying shit that a lot of people are saying on the inside. You know, their internal monologue and what I really am saying right now, it matches up. Because how many times have you been in a room with someone or been in a class with someone and they go, I'm glad you asked that because I was thinking.
Right.
And that's what really kicked it home for me. I'm not the only one that feels this way. However, we all have different experiences with how we felt.
Yeah.
I grew up, so my mom wanted to be a therapist, but it made more sense to be a respiratory therapist first. Now she is a therapist and she practices. And so I grew up with, you know, as a kid of a therapist, basically. And so my parents always did welcome that type of independence, and I'm the second of 5. And so they always instilled that in us. And just, what do you want to do? Now, you got to be great at it, but what do you want to do? You can try out all these things. And we did talk about feelings and all that. So it's different. And I think when I look at my relationship with my almost 3-year-old, he'll be 3 next month, I do feel like I hope that I am instilling that in him, because I do think that there is a level of vulnerability, of just authenticity that we're born with. And then as soon as you hit that fresh breath of air, that's when things start to shift. That's where our families, our tribe, whoever our caregivers are, that's where they start to mold us. And we either build up some of that, whatever that is, whether it's communicating about your feelings, what feelings mean, all of that, who you are authentically, or we kind of silence you a little bit. You know, kids are supposed to be seen and not heard, or, you know, be quiet, sit there, or, you know, don't tell anybody what happens in this house, or whatever it is. We mold it, kind of like Play-Doh. And I think that it can be, I think for the most part, it is a learned behavior, because, you know, what I teach you about feelings, I'm exhibiting. I am telling you, be quiet, you don't have anything to cry about, or I'll give you something to cry about, or stop whining, that kind of thing. It's, well, what is it, right? And a lot of people will feel like that positive, or what is it, positive parenting? Yeah, positive parenting.
Boy.
They feel like, oh, like that's, you know, that's babying them or enabling things, or I don't have the patience for that. But I do borrow from it just a little bit, where I am a little bit more patient and trying to figure out, okay, yeah, the cracker you wanted failed or broke, here's another one, but it's really not about, here's another one. Don't fix it. Let's sit in these feelings.
That's it.
So,
That's it. That's it right there. Like, and that's something that I've learned with my kids as well. And my mother actually came to me and said, "You're a better parent than I was."
Oh wow.
And I said, I was like, record that. But the idea that, like, people think positive parenting is very, oh my gosh, you want this, but it's actually like me watching my 3-year-old hit my 9-year-old and go, now, if somebody hit you, you would be upset about that. That's her personal space, and you're going to want to play with her. Would you like somebody to do? And having her sit as a 3-year-old and go, I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? For hitting you? Are you going to do it again? No. Do you want to continue playing? And the 9-year-old going, not right now. and the 3-year-old going, but I want to. You didn't respect our boundaries. Okay, and that's what that is. You know, we weren't given that. My black ass wasn't given that as a kid. It was, this is what you're going to do.
Yeah. I mean,
time out.
Most of us don't. And I
Yeah.
think that's the problem. And I think when it comes to breaking generational curses, it starts right there on how you choose to parent. You don't have to parent just because that's how your mom parented.
Absolutely not.
I was parented differently from how my grandmother parented my mother. And I'll probably be a different parent than my mom was. That doesn't make anybody wrong, but it's like there are certain things that I wish that if I was in a situation I would have done differently, and now I have the opportunity to do so. But that gentle / positive parenting thing, that looks hard. I think the yelling is easy. I think that's the easy. That gentle.
But it's
positive
hard
part is
because it's
hard.
something in us
Yeah.
that makes us try to slow down.
Yeah.
We have to like hit that speed bump to slow down to say, okay, I'm feeling away, but what is it going to do? What is it going to prove in this situation, or how am I showing my kid if I wanted to act in that way? But, you know, choosing something different, it's hard because it almost we have to rewire our brains and do something differently than what we've done, or what we kind of instinctually want to do is yell or get mad or scream. But it's really about just, okay, slowing down. What is it about me, or what is triggering me in this moment? Am I embarrassed because they just spazzed out in the grocery store, or they're not listening? Oh, they're not listening to me. Now, do I sound like the 3-year-old? Am I about to have a tantrum?
Actually.
Yeah.
Such a root of vulnerability for me was just communication. I agree with everybody in this room. I grew up in a black household. My dad was a Marine drill sergeant, so you can imagine that dynamic. And so I never felt heard, no matter how emotional I felt growing up. And a lot of those issues reached their zenith in college, and because I held so many emotions in, I became very violent. And so I didn't know how to communicate vulnerability, and it came out as aggression. And it wasn't until I took a medical leave from my absence from college, I had a big psychotic breakdown, and then went to go live in Japan and kind of just rebuilt myself, that I had the space to do that self-inventory and study things, and just found yoga, study anything I could just give me a sense of purpose. And so basically what I'm saying is I didn't understand the language of vulnerability. And so I had to learn, I had to literally teach myself the words to talk, how to talk to myself, and then how to communicate that. You know, I could have got a therapist. I should have. But that wasn't the language, that wasn't in my cultural understanding of getting a therapist or a clinical psychologist. So I did it on my own, which is very much a hard route. But yeah, for me, it was definitely learning to communicate.
Dope. So I had something that you just said that made me think about it. It was like I should have got a therapist. So I'm gonna ask this on both ends, like fitness, nutrition, therapist, mental health, the whole 9 yards. So there's a conversation going around about like, there's a conversation going around about like nobody should be in therapy for like extended times. Like meaning like eventually you should learn the tools and move on and be able to help yourself. I'm not saying whether it's true or not. I'm just saying there's a conversation going. You know, see the faces. But what I want to ask y'all on both ends, like in you all's field, is your goal? Should there be a goal to give that person the tools where they can operate eventually without you, and then you continue to move on, or is working on yourself? If you once needed the help, you would kind of always need the help. Does that make sense?
Well,
Does the question make sense that I'm asking? Though?
yes.
It makes sense.
And
Okay.
it's certainly true that we want our clients to have tools. We want them to increase their skill set and be able to cope independently. And we can decrease our sessions. We don't need to meet every week. Maybe we move to bi-weekly. Maybe it's once a month. Maybe it's a check-in every 6 months, depending on how the tools are being used. But you take your behind to the doctor for preventative care, check-ins. You know, you need to have that mental health care as well. You need to always have those check-ins. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be at the level of intensity you were at the beginning. Once you have the skills, use them. Go out. But, like, let's check in that there's nothing going on, that we've not missed anything every now and then.
Yes. I think the problem when we talk about it, I'm going to speak specifically from the mental health realm, is that people think you're going to therapy to be fixed. And that's the issue. Like, oh, if you're gone, you should be fixed by now. First of all,
Or your therapist not doing their job.
Right. No, your therapist don't.
Because you're still there.
It's the wrong match. They just getting your money. No, baby. Life be lifing. So, at some time, you can come to me to talk about infidelity issues, get through your infidelity issues, and then you realize, oh my gosh, that has affected my parenting issues. And then you get through those issues, and then you go, oh my God, something that you said made me remember this connection to this trauma. I want to process this because I have nowhere else to process it. Then you get to a point where I done moved to a new place, and now I got a new job, so now I got transitional issues. It's not that I want to be with you for the rest of your life. However, as you go through life and things present themselves, why not have the tools? If you went to the doctor and they said you have diabetes, you would get the tools and you would get through the nutritional help. You would then get the help if you needed insulin and those things. If you needed to go up to a pump, you would go do that. If you downgraded and I need to go to this nutritionist now because this nutritionist was so solidly for obesity. Now I'm not in that space anymore. The problem is not seeing it as a mind, body, spirit connection and not understanding that people constantly evolve. So it's not that we want to be stuck with you for the rest of your life. Baby, I do like money. However, I'm here to help you on your journey. And as that journey evolves, that's how we will evolve and we will transition our relationships.
Dope.
Life isn't linear.
It's not.
No, I'll kind of relate that back to the fitness side. I think humans, we're creatures of habits, right? And so me and Amber talk a lot with our clients, and at least I say this to a lot of my clients. I'm sure Amber does too.
Probably.
I want to get to a point when I take you on as a client through nutrition and fitness that you don't need me. That one day you leave and you have lost the weight or gained the muscle mass or learned better eating habits, that you don't rely on me, but the exact same thing. The key word there is don't rely on me. Not necessarily never need me again, but that you're able to have the tools, your exact words, to be able to continue to progress. But as humans, right, as we develop habits, it's really easy to fall back into bad habits. We've had several clients, who'll go off, think that they know what they're doing, feel in a good place, and come back 3 months later like, oh man, as soon as I stopped working with you, I fell back into all my old habits. One of you guys mentioned it, I can't remember which one of you, but the analogy of it being a doctor's appointment, right? So if you know that you have an appointment every month, it's almost that accountability in your head, right, of being like, okay, when I go and meet with this person, I know they're holding me accountable, and I almost like that self-conscious, but I don't want to let them down, mentally or physically, right? If I'm going to go see my therapist, I want to show that I'm actually taking the time and taking in what they say to me since they're investing their time and showing that I'm making that progress. Same as a personal trainer. My clients, I know sometimes they're not always doing what they need to, and they almost feel guilty sometimes. Like, oh, I had a bad week, I didn't work out. And again, that accountability piece and building that relationship with them. Like, oh, it's okay, we had a bad week, let's talk through it. What can we build together? And as they make progress, like you were saying, maybe you don't need me to train you every single day, or maybe, you only see me once a month. But it's just that checking in, knowing somebody's holding you accountable, knowing somebody cares about you, whether it's your physical goals or mental goals, and knowing that that's a forever thing, because life is lifing, and life is lifing, and it's forever changing. And I think that stigma of you graduate from mental health or physical health, it's not a thing. Your brain is always working, your body's always working up until the day you die. That's a fact. So.
Oh, well put.
My goal as a coach is just really to teach self-awareness and actionability from that self-awareness. You know what I'm saying? So through self-awareness of the issues that you are continuously going through, like taking action and accountability when you need to. And that's going to be continuous. Life is a spiral. You circle back on the same truths, find deeper meaning each time.
So how much does... So, I'm sorry, these coming off the head because y'all said some great stuff. How much does you all's intelligence about what you do infringe on personal relationships? Meaning, that means it was a good question. That's a good question.
It's a great question because a lot of people, especially if you're close, they're like, girl, I can't lose weight. I said, okay, here, let me send you this $10 consultation. And it's just like, sometimes there are some moments where I don't mind sharing information. However, I've noticed that when I go out to eat with friends, I know I'm eating bad when they'll eat something. I'm like, baby, I'm not here to judge you. Eat what you want.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel like just because you're eating with a nutritionist that I'm about to be like, girl, them have 100 carbs. They're like, it's not that serious. Like, child, I'm probably going to get the same thing. Let's be real. You know what I mean? Because for me, that's my balance. When I go out, that's my balance. But when I cook at home, baby, you're going to have everything that I need. But my balance is different from yours. And just because you had whatever you had that you think is unhealthy, that doesn't, think about what you're doing for the rest of the day. Like, it's, don't feel like I'm about to be picking you apart, because I don't care. Okay, that's your body, what you want to eat, What you craving, do what you need to do.
Facts.
So that's sometimes where I do feel like people, like, you know, they try to, like, compare themselves to you, and I'm just like, you don't need to do that. Just because you know what I do doesn't mean that you have to feel pressured to get something that you don't want on the menu. You don't need to do that.
Ask for me, I'm gonna get them nachos.
I understand.
Yeah,
But then there's also that side of people constantly hitting you up asking for help and asking for things. I'm just like, people pay me to do this, so you're gonna have to do the same thing. Like, I mean, it is what it is, baby. Like, if you don't have money in your budget to say that, and that's okay. But I can't pour into you like I pour into my clients, because then what are my clients paying me for? Right. If I'm just gonna be pouring, I'm like, post Instagram, I get free tips all the time. But I can't. I've learned to kind of set that boundary with myself, like.
Yeah.
All right. One, they didn't ask. Sometimes they didn't ask. Like, just because someone struck. Oh, okay. Yeah, man, you got this. Like, setting my own boundaries, because I'm a pour. Like, I will pour into you, and I'm just like, wait a second. Might not be the time.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to. For me, it was hard not to wear my therapist hat all the time, because it was this one incident. And a friend of mine, she did not ask. I did not ask myself, did she ask? But I gave. And later on, her talking to another friend was like, oh yeah, I didn't appreciate that. And I was like, oh, okay, of course it was, relationship stuff. And she wasn't ready to hear it. But then even longer after that, she's like, nope, I did need to hear it at that time. But that still didn't justify me, just spilling it when she didn't ask, because again, like, she wasn't ready to hear it. Yeah. Specifically in my relationship, I try not to always wear the therapist hat, but my boyfriend will put that on me. Sometimes he'll listen, sometimes he won't. But for the most part, it's okay. So you do know what you're doing. And other family or other friends, they will not appreciate the therapist hat on when they don't want to hear something that they know is the truth. And it's particularly difficult when they don't want to hear something and then they try to throw it in there, like, don't therapize me. Or, that shrink stuff, like, leave it at the door. So I literally had to draw a lot of boundaries and just, hey, I'm not saying anything. And now people will ask, because you're like, oh, we sitting here talking, and you're not going to say nothing, and this is your thing? Nope, I'm not going to say anything. Well, we asking. Okay, so now that you ask.
Does that cause static too? Now that you set the boundary and I'm not in it, but they want it, and now you're like, nah, I think I'm cool on that?
It doesn't cause static, but I try, like, you can't unsee things. Like, you can't unthink something and not draw the dot. So I really try to stay away from that, especially in my friendships, because I'm like, I don't want to think about this. It's like drawing the connections in the dots and trying to make sense of something, but you didn't purposely do it, but you just have this information. And so I just censor what I say. And people feel like you're this kind of mind reader anyway, which is totally false. We are not mind readers. We're not psychics. We cannot read you or tell you about yourself. But, just kind of making that or establishing that for people. Like, look, you don't have to feel uncomfortable talking to me, because, the guy at the checkout at, Giant will say, oh, you're like, oh, so you're reading my mind. No, I'm not. Just back the stuff. And you could, anybody, like, you can still be an open book. Yeah. However, it's those boundaries too, because people don't act sometimes, and they may not be ready to hear what you have to say, even when they do act.
That was my thing, boundaries, especially with my family. Hey, mama, you can listen to this. You know what's up. So the issue that I've had is once I started grad school, people would start asking questions. And for most of us who are in the health field, it's because you are naturally drawn to something, whether it be helping people, whether it be trying to fix a problem, a solution, and that's the way we just connect with people. For sure. And I realized that helped me be a better therapist, the way I just see people naturally. My family they liked to. My mom finally put a nip in the bud because I had to have a conversation about boundaries. You know those memes where it'd be like your mom on the phone with somebody, you're like, who can help you with this? And I'd be like, wait a minute. No. I had to let them know that just because this is my expertise and I'm a part of this family, just like with my friends,
that does not mean you have free access to my craft.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because I would never walk to your job and say, give me all you got for free.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not that I don't love you and I don't care about you. I wouldn't offer something, but respect me first.
Mhm.
And it's sometimes it was a little difficult for family to hear that, or like, child, I could count on my hand a number of times. Like somebody was like, oh, I tried to get this therapist, but they said their books are closed. And I was like, oh, okay. Can you call them and ask them? First of all, we don't know each other, all of us. And secondly, if their books are closed, their books are closed. I am not going to finagle them into opening up for you. Fine. Well, what do you suggest? Let's start the process again. We're going to start, and this is how I do it. And they would get so frustrated, like I'm not giving them the keys. First of all, I work for these. These my keys, with my keychain. Secondly, if I give you everything, you will learn nothing. Sometimes you have to sit back, and that was my thing too, because so as a younger person, I would just jump in and help.
Yeah.
So they expected me to do that as Dr. Ashley. No. Because what happens is it gets messy. Because you can't see me from being a Dr. Ashley or your cousin, or me and my girls and Dr. Ashley. And it became a point, like you said, I'd be sitting there and they'll just be talking, and I'll say nothing. I have nothing to contribute. Because what I have to contribute, I know y'all not ready for. Or you're going to put me in a space where I have to exhaust something that it would be beyond this conversation, and it will make me your therapist, and that's a dual relationship, and it's unethical. I can't do that with you, you know, and it took a lot of me just saying no until I had a conversation with my mother. She's in the beauty industry. I said, what if I just came to your job with every person that I say, your skin needs some help, your hair needs some help, your nails need some help, and I just brought them to your job and just sat them there, walked, and did not put down a card for any of their services. And she said, you know what, I apologize. You know, because it makes us feel like we always are on. And I don't want to be always on. I want to live life. I don't want to exist for your consumption. So I had to learn that boundary of no. And like my friends will now say, sometimes they won't tell me things. Because they'll go, I don't want Dr. Ashley, I just want AJ. I just want Ashley, and I felt like if I brought you in that space without me trying, I would make you be Dr. Ashley. And I respect that. And at first, I would internalize that, like, what you want me to be? But now I know that's their boundary protecting me. And it took work. It took work. And why does every man or woman that try to hit on you think you can read their mind? What is psychic and psychology mean? I don't understand. The number of times I've heard that, like, you read in my mind, sometimes I just go, yes.
I'm actively out here. Oh, excuse me.
No, you go first.
I'm actively out here trying to find a wife, y'all. Like, looking, okay? I do not tell people I'm a therapist. I go on dates, and I'm like, I am a fitness instructor. I'm a sock model. I will make up something. I do not tell people.
Meanwhile, I was like, you're a sock model?
Right. Okay. You just have nice feet or nice legs.
Sock model. You don't, you just see ankles. So. I'm not, because as soon as people find out, it changes. Like, oh, and they like start to overthink about what they're sharing and what they're saying.
Or you can't make a mistake.
Exactly.
You should know how to interact and communicate and all this.
Can be human.
Can we talk about that? How people think that just because you're a professional that you're supposed to be this perfect superhuman? Like, dang, I can't have a bad lift. I can't eat some chocolate. Dang, like, no, we are human. And I hate that this, like, I remember I went to Golden Corral and, like, got some water, and I was about to go get my plate. Like, oh yeah, Amber's gonna get all the help. First of all, get out my plate. Worry about what you about to eat, and you're right. But the point is, why are you so obsessed over what I'm doing, and why are you expecting all this stuff? Like, I'm kind of getting very annoyed with the way that you're being picked apart just because you're a professional in some type of field.
They feel like their expertise is synonymous with perfection. And no, I can be an expert and still be human, you know? Like, and I think that's the piece, especially within communities of color, because a lot of us didn't have certain representation. It's just like, my family has golden child syndrome with me. I can do no wrong. I can do no wrong. And when I do wrong, Lord, the whole world is on fire. Meanwhile, I'm just like, it's another day. What else I'm going to fuck up tomorrow? You know, and
it's doing my best.
It's doing it every day. I say my best changes.
Yesterday's best, and thank you for your transparency, Britt. I'm having a
yeah.
shitty week. And yesterday's best is not today's best. Today's best won't be tomorrow's best. But the fact that I tried my best every day, that's what matters. And I feel like that's what we need to bring back into the human discussion. Titles don't make people.
Yeah.
People make people.
Absolutely.
So really quickly, Destinee, I want to ask you a quick question. I know you just want to say something there, so I'm going to go to you, Britt. So when does that time become right to communicate that?
That I'm a therapist.
Yes. And a sock. No. But a therapist. Like, when do you feel comfortable, like, okay, I can reveal this information?
Maybe like 3 dates in. Maybe like at the end of the date, depending on how it went, if it was really organic. But sometimes, like, I'm dating people right now that they still don't know. Just like, no, it's not even worth it to share it with you, because then you're gonna Google me, or like maybe you've already Googled, but it's just like, I don't want to get into the mess of you knowing too much about my life or using me in a way that, like, I don't want to be used. Like, don't rely on me in this way. If dating the person ends up being like, we're turning it into a friendship, and like, this is a safe person, we have reciprocity in our communication, then cool, you can know. But if it feels really one-sided and I'm doing a lot of the lifting and the conversation, that person is probably not going to ever know that I'm a therapist, because they're relying on me for that.
That's the thing, because I'm dating right now, and one of the girls that I'm talking to did not know I was a therapist, did not know doctor, nothing. I found her on a dating app. Shout out
Y'all
to
don't
that
be
app.
playing, boy. Y'all keep it close to the vest.
Because people will try to use you, or like you said, it changes the dynamic. It's like you feel outed, you know, and I want to give you that information. The only reason I told her I was a therapist, because she commented on something about my anxiety, because I was like, I'm not going out because of this. She was like, it sounds like. I was going to stop you right there. Stop you right there. Yeah. I introduced myself to you. I'm Dr. Ashley. Right. She said, oop, let me stay in my lane. I said, get the keys.
But if you're actively dating, do you ask people, are they in therapy? Because I feel like there's a whole meme now of like, therapy, like a man or woman being in therapy now is the new, like, that's the new black.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like,
but everybody doesn't need it though, do they?
That's a good question too.
I think so. I'm gonna jump in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I think every single person, like we were talking about.
For the record, I've been, but I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Let me clear my little.
I'm married to one.
I've been to one with my wife and by myself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier. It's and I think Amber just said it. It's maintenance care. It's you go to the dentist every 6 months, every 3 months if you have really good insurance. You go to the doctor, you get your physical every year. I don't think, me personally, that there should be a negative stigma behind going to therapy.
Agreed.
I don't think that there should be a stigma that you stop going to therapy. It's something that, honestly, I think from adolescent age up until the day you pass, there should be therapy. I think it should be more affordable. I think it should be more accessible. And I think the whole stigma behind it needs to change as a whole in society. Period.
Are there I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it's something about having someone who has nothing to do with, like, you know
Unbiased.
what I mean?
Unbiased.
The unbiased, because it's
Be
just
unbiased.
like, what I had to tell some of my friends is like, I'm not your therapist.
I'm the friend. She's attached me often.
I said it once.
I'm the friend. You change me a lot.
I said it once, and I was crying, and I was yelling, but just know that I had to let you know. But I think sometimes you just need that person who you can, they have the tools. They're unbiased. Like, for example, if you're pouring into me about John, all right, I've heard about John all year, about John. And
John doesn't listen to this podcast.
Shout out to John, whoever you are, John.
Come on and defend yourself, John. Come on.
But it's just like sometimes, again, kind of we were talking before, is that your friends and family, let's be real, like, we don't really forgive. And I think the problem that a lot of people have is that they only share the negative about whatever they're venting about. You don't see the positive side. So I'm looking at you, I was like, why are you still dealing with John? It's like kind of that. Right. And I'm sure I've had friends who thought the same about me when I used to do that. I finally got to a point when it comes to my relationship, I don't vent to my friends anymore or my family, because it's just like, no, we need to figure this out. And if we can't figure it out, then we need a professional, okay? We don't need cousin Johnny who, where are we on these Johns tonight?
I
want to talk about
John. But yeah, but the thing is, I just feel like, going back to the original question, therapy is preventative care, maintenance.
Yeah.
Like, life be lifing.
Yeah.
Okay?
You really gotta market that.
I actually have shirts coming.
Okay. Let us know. Let us know.
Have
Can we get a
that.
crop top one?
Well, Britt, I want you to get. I know you was about to say something before. Amber said I want you to.
Let's go back to a
say.
previous conversation talking about how does your expertise affect relationships and just empowering that. And I'm open to feedback in this. As I'm struggling with a family member, I won't say who, but this person is someone I'm willing to invest my all into because this person is the closest person I have on the planet. And they have lifestyle choices that are terminal for their health. And I feel helpless in the situation because I get paid pretty well for what I do for other people, and I'm willing to do that all for free for this person. Willing to do it, very willing, more than willing. I call this person 7-8 times a day. And I'm willing to make them nutrition plans, write them programs, buy them personal trainers, do all these things, but they're not receptive of it. And it will affect me if that person doesn't get their life together. And it's nothing that I can't change them, but I feel helpless in the situation. And I'm not sure what the answer is. I try not to make them feel inadequate. But
I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead and finish it. Oh, so to your point though, what I can say with my experiences with that, so I've never been in a situation that has been all the way preventable. For instance, I lost my mother to breast cancer. It was one of those things where like, it's coming type vibe. You know what I'm saying? I will say this, and I've learned this in very, very early. With everything you stated, there hopefully becomes a time where you did what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like you put the things in place in front of someone to do everything you could. Now, if they decide not to do it, it may affect you if something goes wrong, God forbid. But there will come peace that that you laid out everything. And I'll put it in a different sense. Like as an educator, right? Like there are some kids in my class, like I'm like, bruh, I know I'm not tripping. Like I've done it all. Like I've done tutoring, I've done before school, I've done the pull up. I did a home visit to get to know their family. I've went to those lengths. So at some point, and I'm not comparing the person to a child, but what I'm saying is at some point I'm like, okay, I got to be okay with the result that they're going to give me because I've laid these things out. You know what I'm saying? So if I could say anything, it's say continue to do what you do. I think that's part of it, but also try to find peace in that you're doing everything you could. I think the bigger demon, for lack of a better term, would be if you were doing those things and you thought you could do more, but you're doing everything you can. You feel me? So I think that's the biggest takeaway that I could try to share with you because I've been in that position. And a very close family member of mine is not. He's not necessarily. It may not turn out bad for him, but at this point, it's like, bro, I'm here. I done put every tick on the wall. Every reminder in the calendar, every text message, every phone call, everything I can do. And it's not necessarily something I do professionally, but just that effort of trying to make sure somebody get to where they're supposed to be. You feel me? So it's like somewhere find peace in that, bro, because that's the most you can do. And at the end of the day, people are going to do what they decide to. And you don't burden yourself with that. You feel me?
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's hold the space for yourself. Something that I tell clients all the time is one of the most bittersweet points of coming to therapy is realizing that you're healing and other people aren't as focused on their healing as you as focused on yours. That you're growing and other people aren't growing at the same pace. So you're like, and the conflict is, come on, I got all these tools, try it. You are doing enough. Also, we got to understand that everybody's ready may not be the same. You're ready for them to be ready, but they're not ready for them to be ready. And sometimes that's where we get a lot of false starts because they're doing it for other people. They're not doing it for themselves. So there has to be something that they go through that clicks with them that makes them say, this is the time for me. And you be there, not to be like, I told you so, but you there and just like, I'm glad you're doing this for you. And continuously don't overextend yourself because sometimes we do that. Like, I want you to see, I want you to be better. Sometimes you just have to take a beat, take a step back and go, this is what I've offered. When you're ready, I am here for you. But until then, I want to make some changes with the way we communicate. So that may be, I'm not going to give you all of this every time I talk to you. I'm not going to fuss about certain things. But it could also be, what is this saying? What is the message you're trying to convey? Because underneath that, I hear that I'm afraid to lose you. And sometimes they need to hear that message and not, this is what you need to do. And we got to be comfortable with that. And back to the piece of therapy, I think also people think therapy is in one style.
Facts.
So you can have different types of therapies. Like my dissertation was on dance movement therapy and expressive therapies.
I'm glad you said that.
You know, I do narrative therapy. I'm trauma focused CBT. I have that under my belt. I'm a humanistic existential therapist. So baby, I pull everything out the bag. You know, it looks different. Are we going to paint? Are we going to dance? Are we going to make poems? Are we going to spit bars? Are we going to do this? Are we going to walk? Are we just doing some mindfulness and movement? It looks different depending on the theoretical background of your clinician and also what you want.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put a 3-year-old in talk therapy. Baby, in 3-year-olds, we're going to make some angry robots and we're going to knock them down, boo. I'm not going to do this. I used to go on runs with my schizophrenic diagnosed patients to get their bodies moving, and we would talk about things around their environment so I could help them be grounded. Let's feel the sun. Let's feel the grass. Let's feel the tree. What do you see versus what's real and what's not? Therapy looks different depending on who you are and who you want to be aligned with.
I'm so glad you say that. That was a question I was going to ask earlier, actually. This therapy has to be traditional. You know, you're saying therapy needs to be throughout your whole life, but is this traditional thing where you sit in the chair, the other person sits in the chair, and we have this conversation? And I remember when I was in college, one source of therapy I had for myself, which might sound weird, but I used to love ciphering, like freestyling. I could express myself poetically.
About to hit one?
Here we go. I know where this is going.
No, that's dope, though. That's what's up, bro.
No, for real, man. And so, like, just being able to just freestyle just off the top of the head, just expressing myself, that felt so cathartic for me at that time period. And that was my source of therapy at the time when I was at my, some of my worst moments. And I still do it too, actually. And it feels really cathartic. So, yeah.
I think that's so dope because I remember when we first met, we talked about like the anime thing. I'm heavy into Dragon Ball Z, but it's like when she was talking about earlier, where like people when she was talking earlier, and she'll be like people, like if you ask a question or say something, they're like, yo, I'm glad you said that. Yeah. But like a lot of us have a lot of things we relate on that we don't share. Like if it come to Marvel movies, MCU stuff, I'm there 12 midnight Thursday when they come out on Friday. That's me. Son sleep. Wife in the bed, turn the alarm on. I'm going out at midnight. Besides Thor, this last Thor, I couldn't really get with it. But the point I'm making is like I realized that me, my brothers, and my dad, that's our space to like bounce. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
Like so when we do things or we need to feel connected, bro, we'll go down the list of like, yo,
what you watching?
You know what I'm saying? and we can do that when we together. You know what I'm saying? So back to the point of things being different, and to the point of like helping people. It's also back to with vulnerability, saying everything you enjoy. Because, like, let's be real. Well, let me speak for myself. It's hard to get out of feeling judged. Especially when you sharing stuff that, like, may not be cool for whoever you typically hang around. You feel me? Like, and I'm going to ride with Marvel regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like, the other day I started an argument about Captain America's trilogy being the best in the MCU, right? Got a lot of grief, but honestly speaking, it was me. Like I don't know if people know how deep I'm into Marvel, but it was me putting myself out there. Like I'm gonna let y'all know now. You know what I'm saying? And people was arguing me down, but I'm saying all that to say like stepping into a space of like I like these things because you may find people that connect to you that y'all help each other. You know what I'm saying? And like the underlying message about her saying like maybe I'm afraid to lose you to communicate that you can share things that person may like doing more than what you think you're sharing with them more. Like sharing with them now. So like you're writing all these things and doing this, but the therapy may be they like anime just as much as you. Yes, and you can connect through that. You feel me? And that, bro, a good therapeutic run or whatever changes the brain chemistry so well. And they may start like, you know what, let me look at this. I actually feel better to try to do this today. So that's the way I think that could.
But I'll say this too. Fitness and nutrition can look different. Like it's not just lifting weights. It can look different for everyone. For example, all of my clients, they all are coached differently. I got one client, this girl don't want to go to the gym, so guess what we do? We walk at work. That's it. That's all she can give me. That's the best she can do. That's better than her not walking. So I'll take it. So I'm like, all right, let's set, what do you want to do? Do you want to set a distance goal? Do you want to set a minutes goal? Do you want to set a days goal? Figuring out what motivates them, like, that can be a way. I have another client. This girl loves to dance. All right, cool. Dance your heart out, sis. I found this really bomb Meg Thee Stallion dance workout.
Yeah.
Do it. Like, move. Like, when you're talking about people who are sedentary, you just want them to move, okay? Like, you just want them to move. So whatever that looks like for them, movement needs to be joyful. That way you want to do it. Too often, what I also hate about this industry, exercise is punishment. Or we have to earn our food. Excuse me, if you don't eat, baby, you're not going to make it. You have to eat.
Yeah.
Food is fuel. Movement is important for you, but it doesn't necessarily have to be dreadful. For example, Tori loves CrossFit. Baby, every time I go and do a CrossFit workout with her, I literally am just like, and then we're doing more. Like,
she be on another wave.
Honey, I'm a 60 minutes or less workouter, okay? If it as soon as the watch goes 61, stop, I'm done.
She was not like traveling with me, guys.
Yeah.
I'd be like, ma'am, we said.
I said hour.
Yeah.
I was in and out.
And no, honey, I had to come get you. I just have one more set. I was like, well, I guess I'll go stretch.
Yeah.
I'll call the Uber because you got to go when the Uber gets
Yeah, I know.
But being able to, or even with nutrition, like, not all of our clients count macros. For a lot of people, it's too complicated. If you're talking about someone who has no idea what they're eating and then you're like, all right, I want you to count macros, they're going to be like, what? No, let's focus on, can you give me 3 balanced meals a day? Or can you start eating dinner for me? Can you start eating breakfast for me? Can you start having a vegetable at least once a day for me? Starting there is a game changer. It doesn't have to always be, because sometimes those long documents outlining everything they should do, sometimes it's overwhelming. What I found with a lot of our clients, starting simple and with one small habit on both sides goes a long way.
I like that approach. I use that approach even in therapy. Just one small step, baby steps, working. If it's just getting 16 ounces of water in, getting, 10 minutes of sun every day, you just work that in. Every few weeks, okay, then we can add something else. But I do like what you were saying about relating to that person in a different way, like easing up and just finding like that connection, speak their language, and then that could indirectly motivate them. Okay, so I do want to stick around for you. Okay, so let me look into this a little bit. He done stopped, complaining and nagging me, but we had a good time talking about anime or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to look into this. Or okay, so that vegan food or whatever you had, that smelled good. Let me taste that a little bit. Oh, so that hamburger does taste like a hamburger, but it's vegan. Whatever it is. Kind of just indirectly influencing them and connecting with them. And so this is possible. You don't have to do all of this thing that whatever traditionally you feel like, eating healthy is, or working out, or whatever it is. But I'm just going to have my good meal here, or, whatever information I gave you before, you might be motivated to look at it later. So I do like that, connecting with them in a different way.
That's the same thing. Like, I love that we're all connected in the way we communicate with our clients. But it's simple stuff, because if I hit you with the big stuff on the intake data, you're not going to come back.
Oh, no.
You're not going to come back. And we got to remember that in our personal relationships, like when we're bringing conversations to people. If you throw everything at me at one time, I'm so overwhelmed. I am so confused. There are a lot of emotions on. I'm not going to have this conversation with you. And, in therapy, I'm a very small steps, and I'm really affirmative. So I'll have people say, well, I don't really like talking to people. I say, well, guess what? You've been talking to me for 50 minutes. Look at you. And, did that, or I have never really told anybody this and this. Well, how do you feel now would you like to revisit that feeling? Let's see if we can do it again. It's all about building character and building strength. And letting people, and also one of my old supervisors said, and letting clients think that your idea is theirs. Right. Sometimes you just got to just throw something out there, but not push. And then they'll make that connection when the next time they're faced with an experience, and they'll go, well, maybe I should do that Megan workout, because I don't really have much to do, and it wasn't that hard when I started. Maybe I should do that. I'm really into anime. They need to bring back Inuyasha. They need to bring that. When?
Like 2 years ago.
I missed it. I was pregnant.
I like playing on their strengths. I've reframed positive affirmations to just your values. What are some of your strengths? What do you value? Because I've heard a lot of clients say, just repeating those typical generic positive affirmations. Oh, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, this, I love my body. It feels it makes them feel worse. And so by playing on their strengths and having them identify their own values, then that feels a lot better for them. And I just started to do this, and I love the light bulb that goes off in their head. Like, oh wow, like I already had this in me. I don't have to go search and pulling for I'm amazing to no, like I value time management. So I'm always on time. I'm going to be on time. Or I value taking care of my body. Right. Okay, no, I'm not going to be lifting for an hour and a half, but I am going to spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes in between whatever I'm doing to go for a walk. I'm going to walk my dog a little longer today. Yeah. So there you go.
And I'll say that I'll leave this with you, Britt. And not saying that you don't already do this. Do it in faith, because when you do it in faith, you believe it, and just don't do it out of fear, because when you do it out of fear, you hope it happens. So whatever you do, bro, believe in it, have faith that it'll happen, because it helps ease yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you really do those things, when you do it in faith, you really believe it's going to happen one way or the other. Because a lot of times we operate in fear. Everybody has those. Yeah. But what I've learned is when we operate from that place of fear, it's like you're hoping all the time. Yeah. But when you operate in that place of faith, you do things that you may have an idea, but you don't know the end goal, but you believe it'll happen the way it's supposed to. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you do those things, I wouldn't say, you know, you may change your approach, but keep trying. But just do it in faith, bro, and believe that it will happen. And that way, it'll kind of ease you a little bit. You know what I'm saying, bro? I appreciate that. Yeah, for sure. So to transition a little bit, I wanted to ask, we were talking about, dang, I lost it. In transitioning, what was it? In both fields, can you really teach at any age new tricks? Or is it really a point where people really get stuck in their ways? And both sides of it. I really want to know this.
You can definitely teach.
Absolutely.
You can absolutely. Okay. You can teach though. Seriously.
Yeah.
You really
you can teach, but are they going?
Yeah, are they willing to change? You know what I'm saying?
Right. But have you heard of habit stacking?
And like in the
so
audience?
Like, for example, we brush our teeth hopefully every day. And then that's a habit that you have. Then you add like something right after that. So another example with food, you make a cup of coffee every morning. Now you're like, okay, add a granola bar, something. This is for clients who don't eat breakfast, but they drink coffee. And coffee is an appetite suppressant. So yes, you're not hungry, baby, because you had a cup of coffee. Now you're going hours without eating. Now you're starving. Now you've eaten a Big Mac, large fries, and a large Coke. Of course, because you're hungry. You haven't eaten all day. Let's eat breakfast. So habit stacking is a great thing for people who are kind of stuck in their ways. That's what I found with our clients. But you can absolutely teach people new stuff, because I really feel like we've had clients that are younger than us, twice our age. That's always interesting, in my opinion, coaching the older clients, because I'm like...
Now let me flip the question.
Okay, you're flipping the question?
I'm going to flip the question. And I'm going to let y'all dig as far as you want to or not. Like when does the client not match? When are you like, I can't teach this person what they need?
I'm gonna take this one again. And
like, let me switch that up real quick.
Okay.
Like, what happens in that exchange?
I have fired clients before.
Okay. Same. Respect.
This is my thing. If I'm pouring into you and you're doing nothing, what am I here for? You're not ready. You have to be ready. Me, I started my weight loss journey, I don't know what, Tori, 85 million times before I called you. Sure. And was like, help. Yeah. When I hit my break point, I remember like it was yesterday. It was Cinco de Mayo, 2020. She girl.
A bunch of tacos. Sorry guys.
Let me tell my story. I had like 10 tacos.
There it is.
And I realized in that moment that I don't have control over food. Food has control over me.
Oh wow.
And then I called her. I was like, yo, I need help. Like this is beyond. I don't need help. If I'm working with a client and we're going through all this stuff, we're talking all this thing, and you're not doing any of the work, I can't keep doing. One, it's exhausting me, and I can't keep doing this. And obviously, I'm not like I'm done. It's more like, do you think you're ready for this yet? Are there other underlying factors? One of my clients, it was her mental health. Yeah. She was so depressed. Yeah. Getting up was difficult. How am I expecting? If you can't get out of bed, what makes you think you can go to the gym? Yeah. If you can't get out of, you can't brush your teeth, why do you think you're able to eat breakfast? Yeah. You have to understand that your clients are human beings, and that they may not be ready for your services.
Gotta preach.
And if it's more than just money for you, you will let your clients go. But if you only care about money, you won't. But if you really care about the well-being of your
Okay,
client,
and we're gonna get it then.
you
Go
will
get it.
let them go. They're not ready, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I know I wasn't ready in college. I know I wasn't ready when I graduated. I know I wasn't ready when I thought I was ready. I knew I wasn't ready when I was just losing weight for a trip. And guess what? As soon as I got back from Miami, your girl gained the 20 pounds right back.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it to look good in Miami. Or I was doing it so everyone would stop saying whatever. But when you do it for you and when you're actually ready, then things happen. But as a coach, you have to recognize that with your clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, on the therapy side, people feel like you should help them be ready. And so it's a slower process, but there's definitely times where I've had to say, okay, maybe someone else could be a better fit for you, or maybe it's my approach. With us, reevaluating our approach together, what are some boundaries? Hitting these goals or feeling this way, or if you have to drag yourself to therapy, whatever it is, let's talk about it. And I'll adjust as much as I'll adjust. You'll adjust as much as you will. But at some point, that conversation does need to happen. Are we a good fit? Are you meeting your goals? Are you feeling good? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah.
You're missing a lot, or whatever it is. And at first, I did not like having those conversations. But throughout the years, I've gotten better with my own personal stuff that I carry into the room and my professional boundaries of, okay, we're going to talk about this for a little bit longer, and then we're going to make this decision. So come to the next session ready to talk about where you want to go with this, because, we're not wasting anyone's time. And you never know, with therapy, that could negatively impact their therapeutic experience, which will maybe make them a little less willing to try it again. Like, oh, my last therapist, they just did this, or this. And I'm not doing that anymore.
Remember, you said Jim, if you care about your client, you let them go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta let them go.
So a lot of trainers won't do that. They won't.
A lot won't.
Because it's selfish. That's selfishness.
Crazy.
And also, what you speaking to, Doc, I don't want to project it on you. Maybe mine. I used to have a problem having that conversation, too, because then you internalize it as, I'm not good enough to help them. I'm doing something wrong. And it's not you.
Right.
I have conversations, and speaking specifically from the therapeutic space, you have to be different about how you terminate or you build that relationship. Because also, you don't want them to internalize and go into other relationships. And also, some of the other relationships they come to talk to us about, we realized they didn't have their own concept of closure, or we realized that it ended terribly without somebody letting them know what could be done to change the dynamic, if it is salvageable. So it's a little bit slower than bye.
Right.
I promise
I know you're not doing it.
I was like, I think you need to really pursue getting your mental health together. Like, that's your priority, because I can't. One, I ain't got them licenses, and that's not my scope. I don't have that. I can't.
I've actually had a client say that it wasn't fitness. It was more coaching, like life coaching, and she was like, "How dare her say that to me?" I'm like, "But she's right. We do need to keep on before you try to go out there." Yeah. She was a little offended, but I get it. Like, A plus B doesn't equal C all the time, and you definitely have to look inward, because of course, you're just paying me as your trainer to do what? Because you're not getting up or you're not doing what you need to do. Yeah. So I definitely understand it from that point.
One thing that I learned when I got my nutrition certification, they talked about knowing your scope and knowing when this isn't the right client for you. One client was struggling with like blood. I was like, this. Because the blood pressure that you have are dangerous. You walking around is dangerous at this point. You need to settle that first. And because a lot of people will just kind of want to just take the money, but it's just like you gotta know, stay in your lane. Essentially, you really gotta stay in your lane.
I tell people two things when you come to my first client intake, and I say it on my podcast a lot. I'll go, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's shot of tequila. Yeah. Meaning that everything about my style may not translate to what you need, and that's okay. I don't take that personally. There's somebody there out there that is the fit for you. Yep. Also, me telling you that this is not a good fit or you're not ready at this time is because I care. And I tell my clients all the time, like, this isn't a game for me. I can't want this more than you want this. I can't do more of the work than you want to do, baby. Then I'm getting the results.
and you aren't, you're still
Right.
stuck. And I don't want that for you. I want you to progress. And in order to progress, I need you to hear this truth of, you may need to take this step.
Yeah.
You may need to do this. And it's because a lot of us haven't heard that. Like, so many trainers, not y'all, so many therapists that, they'll keep someone because of their own selfish reasons, whether it be financially, I really need this client, or, I just started, I don't want to get a bad review, all these other things. But we have to be, I think this whole conversation has been back to the humanness of it all.
Yeah.
Would you want someone to play? I said I don't play with people's lives. This is your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Things that we talk about in therapy sometimes are life and death.
Yeah.
And I would never want to put you in a position where I'm working with you and I cannot be beneficial to the life piece of that. So we have to say goodbye. I'll help you get referrals.
Right.
I'll suggest things or other resources. I'm not just going to, and I also leave the door for some clients. Sometimes it's not a good fit. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I'll leave the door when you're ready. You know where to find me. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of to this point, and also to Britt's personal point, sometimes we have to check in with ourselves about our control issues or our inability to be a positive impact on people, our codependency concerns, our attachment concerns. Because a lot of times when we're not letting someone go or letting someone have full control, autonomy over their life and their decisions, if we sit in our own meditation for a little bit, it really comes back to, okay, this is my need. That I'm trying to meet my need by doing this for this person or having this kind of an impact that I'm not having.
That's the power that I learned in supervision, but also just community of therapists, and not just going by the status quo of, well, do what you got to do. We got to struggle because we got in this, field for something. You can't, you got to work to be poor, basically, and not ask for certain fees, or, not take care of you. You can't take a week off. What are your clients going to do? Or, you got to see as many people during the day as you can. Well, no, because I have to take care of me. I have to have that mental and emotional capacity to be able to sit with myself and do that inward reflection. Because if I don't, again, all of those attachment and codependency, all of that will manifest into the room, and I will be causing more harm than not. And I 100% believe in taking care of ourselves. Just because it's that physical room on your calendar doesn't mean that that slot has to be filled, because we still need that emotional space, or that just space to be able to do whatever we need to do, to be able to slow down a little bit, to be able to have some meditation time. I know before, early on, I would have session, back to back. I could barely go to the bathroom. I could barely have a moment to, eat. And I'm like, well, I'm just starting out, so, this is what I have to do in order to serve my clients, because that was the message culturally that I was getting in the therapeutic world. And then when I started to surround myself with other therapists that was more, I guess, thinking outside of the box of the, yes, take care of yourself, yes, do what you need to do, expand, then I started to think a little bit differently and have a different approach to my practice of me as well, my self-care. Because availability does not mean accessibility. And I think a lot of people, especially when you're a professional, you think that, I'm available, so this is spot. And I blame grind culture too for saying, there's an empty space, so I have to fill it. That empty space may need to be filled by you. I'm just telling y'all stuff I say in session now at this point. I say sometimes nothing is the something that you need. And you have to learn that. And I had to learn, my Fridays still look like that, sis, ain't gonna lie. That's one of my busiest client days, but that's when I have help. My mother comes and she watches my kids for me because I'm doing stuff from home. But I also tell people, like, I don't work on Mondays. You think I'm going to work all this time in school to be doctor somebody to tell you if I don't work on Monday, I'm not working on Monday.
Exactly. Right.
That's not my most productive day. I'm still recovering.
And you know that about yourself.
Yes, I know that. I don't work before 11 o'clock or 12. Why? Because I know I want to have that time to meditate and be with my children and get myself together. I don't want to feel rushed. I know I'm cutting off my schedule at this time because I want to be with my children. I want to eat. I want to come down. I want to go. I want to see my therapist. I want to do the things that I have to do. And so much of this pressure, you know, social media, and you got to do, and it's like, that's not sustainable. We're not robots, we are humans. We all need to chill, we all need to come away from it. Again, we're not here to survive, we're here to live. I'm not here to exist, I'm here to live. And grinding and beating yourself up and taking on every client and trying to fix every problem, no one will ever be satisfied, and neither will you.
Right.
So I wanted it's gonna be a funny question, but I want to know. So what online? This is like a weird transition, but I want to know about everything y'all saying. What do y'all see from y'all peers and, you know, the respective fields that's like real aggy for you online? Like when you see certain, because this is the reason why I ask is this. I'm gonna say the self-care thing is probably a very unpopular opinion. I feel like people overuse it, and it's like annoying sometimes. I'm not saying people don't need self-care. Please, minute, whatever this is, I'm not saying people don't need self-care. What I am saying is like, it can become a crutch in some ways for people not to actually, if you got a self-care day and the next day you're not better, was that really self-care?
I like to think of it as, how intentional are you?
You say, I need a self-care day. I take
what
self-care.
Are you intentionally doing? Self-care is what? What's your self-care?
For me?
Yeah.
Personally?
Yeah.
Oh, so if I got like, I got two ways to do it. Do I have my family with me? Well, I guess that can't be self-care, huh? So
whatever.
Let me say this. If I got my son and my wife with me, right? Okay. I like taking them out. I'm very active. I like going to a something new activity, whether that's a petting farm, whether that's the zoo, whether that's a family activity. Because for me, my family dynamic wasn't the same that I'm producing now. So I actually get joy and fulfillment out of doing those things with my wife and my son. You feel me? Now, if it's just me, like let's take today. Today's like borderline self-care for me. Like I woke up this morning, went for a 2-mile run, went to Wegmans, literally didn't want anything, just wanted to see what the produce was looking like. You know what I'm saying? I went in there, walked around a little bit, like, okay, that's not the same apples from yesterday. These are fresh. I'm going to grab me a Honey Crisp. You know what I'm saying? I'm grabbing one of those. Grabbed the wife some Chipotle. Went, took a shower. Her and I rapped. Like me, my self-care, the older I get, is more simplistic. Like I think I was such a wild child when I was younger. Like now for me, self-care is not grounded. This is going to sound so contradictory. It's not grounded with me being by myself. I have those keener moments where I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't need nobody to be around. But like today is borderline self-care for me. I really like communicating with people. I really like being around dope individuals doing those things. So tomorrow when I wake up, I know my wife's like, hey, let's rip and run. Bet. I done had my day. But if I say like this is self-care and then tomorrow I'm like, oh my God. How does that work? Did I answer your question?
Take it down.
Hold on. Did I answer your question though?
I mean, it doesn't mean that the day before was trash. It doesn't mean that.
So what is supposed to be the product of self-care?
It depends on your intention.
The intent, right?
Okay.
So today, something like this or a family day re-energizes you.
Okay.
It fills your cup back up.
All right.
That doesn't mean that everything that you did today won't mean anything tomorrow because you're in a mood or something changed.
Oh, okay. Respect. I get what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. You could have still got something from that you needed. The whole day in a wash because you didn't do everything on your list or it didn't go the way you wanted to. The fact that you intended to set out for that day to be something different is it means something in itself. And I think like the self-care piece, sometimes it's been branded as you have to do something. Self-care could be I'm not answering my phone. Yeah. Self-care could be like I actually ate breakfast. As opposed to the spa day.
Yes,
it doesn't have to be
a
petty, so transparency. So my daughter was supposed to be here today. My daughter was supposed to have surgery yesterday. Surgery got pushed back. I fussed at somebody. It wasn't therapeutic. It got pushed back for another 2 weeks. I knew I had already taken off Friday for my schedule. I said, I am not putting anybody back on my schedule. I don't want to talk to people today. I'm in a mood. My brain and my emotions were already set for this to happen. Even though it's not happening, my head still feels there. If my emotions are still there. So my self-care for that day was I did go get my nails done. I did get a haircut. I went and got a drink and then before I picked up my kids, I just sat and processed
what would have happened if you would have did the opposite of what this day was supposed to be? That was the self-care I needed. Sometimes it's just a moment. Sometimes my self-care is giving you all the bars in my car on the way here. I was killing y'all on the way here. You know, like sometimes self-care is me just saying no to something.
For sure.
Sometimes self-care is, when's the last time I've done something to give my inner child joy? I like to make forts on my bed. One of the things that I realized that helps me with my anxiety, I just sit under a weighted blanket with another blanket over top of it and just sit. Sometimes I'm listening to music. Sometimes I'm just talking to myself. Sometimes I'm watching something. That's my self-care moment. My kids come in. They all know. I have sensory issues, so my kids will be like, oh, it's sensory time for mommy. And they just leave, and they go do something else. Self-care can be saying, I'm not going to work today. Self-care can be... Right. I love those. Self-care can be, I'm not going to make myself think those thoughts. I'm not going to put myself in a position to give in to imposter syndrome thoughts or these intrusive thoughts. Self-care is what you make it to be. So that's why we were like, it depends on the intention.
Agree. I didn't do a good job of articulating this point. Let me say this. So, go ahead, brother.
Is what irks you how people present it, like as it's fake. Oh, I'm at the beach.
Self-care.
That's a great. So like, this is what it gets me, and it's probably like people I know. It's like, just make sure you really self-caring when you posting it. And I'm like, I guess like if I see somebody, and it's about intentionality, but if I see it all the time, and then like, I don't want to say progression because I honestly understand what you all are saying. The next day could present a different issue. Britt, I think it's like we just say it so freely, like boundary, but put no knowledge behind it to like what does it really look like? You know what I mean? And we're so quick to like use buzzwords right now, like self-care, therapy, boundary,
narcissist,
you know what I'm saying? Like projecting and all this. I'm just like, and I told you, I'm like secondary qualifier, bro. Like I'm telling you, my wife, like, you know what I'm saying? She really like my name. If you look at her masters below it a little bit, it say Keenan actually. You know what I'm saying? Nah, but the thing I'm really saying is like I've learned enough about myself, like to know like y'all really saying it so much but not really doing it. And I think when people just overkill buzzwords, it's like for me, it's like being in the classroom observing something and they asking questions that you know they read out the book. Like you ain't really see what your students needed and ask the question the way they need it. You read that so you can get a good score. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily the way they present it because people's thing is their thing. I'm like, if this many people was doing self-care, I think the world would be a little bit of a better place.
Like for image, superficial.
So I'm gonna flip it to you. I know you're the one asking questions. But
okay, what's up? What's happening? I'm here for it. What's up?
Do you feel like the reason you sparked that question to begin with, do you feel like it's almost like a trend? Like people are like, oh, you know, with TikTok especially, you know, like almost like, oh, I know this is a hot trend to show a self-care video, but they don't actually understand what that means, and they're just like, what were you talking about? The cliche of going to the beach or getting your nails done. They're like, well, if I do this, it's self-care, and I can make a dope video and feel more validated by society because people are going to watch me and think I have my shit together now and that I'm working on myself, and then that, you know, gives them the endorphins that, oh, I'm actually doing something and feeling almost a sense of false self-validation almost. To be like, oh, people are going to see that I'm working on myself, but they're not really understanding that they're not, in a sense. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does. So let me preface everything I said. I probably should have said this first. This only applies to people I care about. I don't internalize as everybody else.
Okay, now we're getting.
I don't internalize. Yeah, I'm not.
You're irritated.
We're like people I know. Let's say.
It's like TikTok is a huge trend. Like everybody's like, oh my god, let me post a self-care video today.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So like for me, let's say I would take everybody I talk to in a month span. Let's just say that's 10 people, right? I hate the trend stuff. Pisses me off too. Don't get me wrong. But in this specific conversation, it's like. I think I've done so much work to be knowledgeable about these things in reality.
Yeah, we know you're honorable.
Yeah, I'm saying, you know what I mean? Secondary cert, you know what I'm saying? If I need, you know what I'm saying? Check the website. But it gets me because if you say, Tori, you know what I mean? You're in my circle, you post something that's like self-care all the time. I do this, I do that, right? Yeah. But me and you spend time together where our energies affect each other.
Right.
If that's not aligning what I see all the time, and your energy, like, and when I'm around you, there's nothing from the things you say you're doing. I don't see the product of that.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to be like, hey, it goes back to the authenticity thing, but I'm like, stop buzzwording me to death and actually do what you need to do to help
That
yourself.
makes sense.
That
You
there
get
you
what
go.
I'm saying?
Give me
Like,
something.
yeah, like that.
First
gets
of all,
me.
you owe us an invoice. We got that out of you.
Okay, all right, got you. My bad.
But it's
Yeah.
remember what I said earlier about being irritated by the fact that you're healing and other people around you aren't?
Yeah,
You got to come to terms with that.
I respect that. That's
You
real.
know, and
I
it
receive that.
and it pisses us off because it's like, bro, you this close to me, you this connected to me, you should be on the same boat.
Action.
No,
Whoa.
you know,
Oh,
but
you might have to cut
sometimes
this
people
out, Tyrone.
swimming to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
You
an
know?
episode of, and I'm going to quote the Kardashians, Kim was getting dressed for something, and this was a few seasons ago,
Mhm.
but Kanye had an issue with it, and she was like, bro, like, we're not on the same journey. And he was like, no, like, you need to tone it down, and she's like, no, show everything. And I think that speaks to exactly what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Everyone may not be on our healing journey or healing at the same pace as us, and we may be, a few notches above or whatever, closer to whatever our goal is, but they may not be able to see that. So the posting, just like what you mentioned, no, actually I think it was you that mentioned, whatever they're getting out of posting, whatever someone's going to think of me, they're not past that part yet.
Yeah.
But I get how it could impact you, though.
Yeah, but only because we exchange energies being in the same environment. You feel me? And I, God's still working on me. So I think, and I can leave this here because I talk all day on this. I just think I've grown to a place of real authenticity. Like, if you super struggling, I will sit with you and we gonna ride. But like, I'm to the point at my age, I feel like we should be able to say like, hey, bro, only to the people that can affect my energy circle. You feel me? Everybody else, you do what you want. But like, we should be to the point where I can say like, hey, look, bro, let's struggle together. Like, I'll be there, but there has to be some type of, I just want to sound so bad. I'm not the professional on the panel, so I can say this.
Oh, now you're not a professional.
I'm not. That's a part of the secondary. You can jump in and out. You know what I'm saying? You can jump in and out. This is secondary. You can jump in and out. You can jump in and out, but like for me, I forgot what I was gonna say, man. I'm not even gonna lie. It'll come back. But for me, with people, I really have grown to the place where like, let's struggle together, let's grow together. And the thing I've really accepted as I've gotten older, I'm cool not being on the same journey. But transparency and honesty are like my non-negotiables. Like, we have to be that to each other. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really like, and this is going to be the last question before we close out. Like, I also have learned that I don't like really sharing some of my successes that much. You know what I'm saying? I think I've been more conscious of people personalized journeys. Like, I will share advice that I've learned in my experiences, but I think sometimes when people are so inward, it's easy for them to identify things around them that they think they may want and not understand how you may have worked to get there. So it's like, I don't want to say, hey, look at me, or hey, I'm doing this, not knowing what internal things that you're not sharing, because that transparency level may be faulty right now. So I don't want to make you feel away on that. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
It
She
makes
about to
sense,
get me.
but I can't. I don't operate from that.
But I can respect that, but I can also say I'm learning that part. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, because I'm either one way now. I'm either super blunt or like, bro, I'm good on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, your number could be on my phone tomorrow.
But it's good that you have that level of compassion, though.
I try.
I get it. I've just learned that I cannot allow other people to dim that part of me.
I feel you.
So
I feel you.
I could be a jerk about it or an asshole, but I mean,
I know. I feel you 110% right.
I work towards something, I'm going to put it out there, and that could be motivating for you or inspirational for you, but just because you're, not where you want to be doesn't mean that I kind of have to shrink myself a little bit.
So can I preface again?
Yeah.
So can I say this
Come
again
out
one
with all the
time?
information.
I am no, because as you're saying it, I don't. So there are. So like for this, right? Right now, we can talk that talk in here right now because I think we're all secure in what we do. You feel me? There are rooms where I can do that. It's not all the time where I'm dimming that. I think there's nothing wrong. So for me, I'll leave it like this. When I go back home to North Carolina, no matter who I'm with, there's certain nicknames I hear, and I know I'm amongst family, right? If I gotta go there and and I can't be, one of the nicknames I am, who you know me as, I don't care to be in those spaces anymore because you're so fond of what I have that you know nothing about that you're forgetting that we're just family having fun. And I'm more into environments where, like, we're all doing our thing. The accolades are cool. The success is cool. But, like, we're still people that just want to have fun. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I struggle with separating those communities because, you know, we can have different places that we may be. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
It does.
They get me, boy. I'm telling you, they get me. Britt. Help me, man. Help me.
Take that honorary certification.
Right.
No, but I appreciate your transparency with this too. But also you have to remember, my truth and your truth are different, and the truth that we have collectively is different as well. So if your truth is, this is how I'm going about my success right now, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how it's looking. And their truth is, I'm not there yet, but I like to be aligned with you because maybe that could be something aspirational about that you don't see. Mm-hmm. And then our collective truth is when we come together, we bounce off of each other. All things can be true.
Agreed.
You just have to understand that your boundaries are not theirs. Mm-hmm. So I told clients and my family all the time, hey, Mama, I know you're going to hear this. My boundaries are my own. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we have to remember that when we're having certain conversations or we're feeling uncomfortable, it's like, oh, do I feel like a boundary has been encroached upon? Because I always say that offense, because I'm trying not to be clinical. Remember you said don't be that clinical? I'm hearing stuff.
Yeah, I got you.
Underneath the umbrella of offense is another emotion. So if I'm offended by the way you're talking or you're not doing your self-care, then it's because there's another emotion that has I've been triggered to, and I'm feeling that.
Wholeheartedly agree.
And I need to, and you got to explore, like, sometimes it's, have I outgrown this tribe? Right. Sometimes it's...
I can't say nothing else on mic. I can't say nothing else on mic.
Because if you're constantly feeling like that, you know, you have to explore, like, I'm a little black girl from DC. I ain't doing shit, you know, because I work for it. Mm-hmm. And that's unfair to you to minimize yourself to make other people comfortable. Because people who really love you would never tell you to box yourself in. Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to say this, and I'm really going to leave it alone. Because I'm really going to owe y'all an invoice. I'm going to transition. I'm going to say this. All that is true. My only issue comes in with transparency. Like, we got to be able to identify the things we feel different on. You can't tell me you feel this way. Then when we're in the same space and exchanging energies, your energy tells me differently than what you told me you felt.
Or how much of that is you though?
I would take like 30-40%. I'm gonna say this in all honesty. I'm a math guy, so my analytical skills before something happens plays against me sometimes. But I will say this: I'm rarely wrong once I analyze something. I will say that. Once I've super analyzed it and I've taken all emotions and all situations we've done into consideration, Dr. Johnson, that's where this primary certification right here with analytical skills. I feel like I'm a good judgment of situations. I'm going to just leave it at that, okay?
Okay. But if you're a good judgment of situation, check. If you're a good judgment of situation.
They getting me, bro. Y'all ain't helping me.
No,
y'all ain't,
you had to
you know what I'm saying?
Sorry.
Ty, you just going to watch this happen.
Exactly.
Ty, really, bro? What?
But really, though, sometimes the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Factual.
So that's why, like the doc said, it's a you thing, baby.
I agree. and you know, and I am mature enough to really wholeheartedly agree with y'all, factual. That's the part I'm working the kinks out on, you feel me? Mm-hmm. So before, you know, I forget my ass handed to me. I'm just, man, I really try to be as transparent as possible, and everything they said is facts. And the worst part is that I know that. That's the worst part. But what I wanted to kind of end on is in a field, wellness overall, in your all specific field, it's kind of hard to build community in something that I don't like to say saturated, but you all understand what I mean. There's a lot of, even if we're small, there's still a lot of us when people are searching for it. You know what I mean? How do you all build community around the things that are important for you all? How do y'all build that community, whether it be social media, whether it be in person? How do you all build that community to continue to let the conversation around wellness grow? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense? And anybody can take it how they see fit. Oh, that means it was a good question. I was thinking.
I would say whenever I meet dope people like y'all, because we going to exchange IGs and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. But whenever I meet dope people, I hold on to them because they are very few and far in between. Even though like it's a lot of, you know, fitness, nutrition, therapy, mental health out there, it is rare for me to find, like, it's not as abundant to find like just dope professionals in those lanes. And so yeah, like I just hold on to it, whether it's social media, you know, kind of using Facebook groups or any other paid communities, if you take a course with someone or something like that, and you know, you picking out maybe one or two, and then you just kind of, you know, hold on to that. If you meet another person that looks like you or that has the same vibes that you're trying to, you know, get on or stay on, or their energy on Instagram or wherever, or you see a dope shirt walking past, oh, so you're a PhD or you're a therapist or you're doing that. Okay, so like tell me a little bit more. You just try to like hold on to that because it is not a whole lot out there.
Respect.
It's definitely difficult. And I'll say I remind myself as a professional that, of course, there are many parts of me. So I use social media one way, but so for instance, of course, we can exchange information so everybody won't be connected. But when I go to a conference, I may feel somebody's energy, that's a speaker or just an attendee, and I'll just be like, yeah, them. Or I may go, I have a lot of people that I follow back on TikTok just because I love the energy that they have, you know, and I'll meet you in real life, you know, that there are parts of me, like I like to connect with dope clinicians. I like to connect with dope single moms. I like to connect with dope queer moms. I like to do all of those things, like, and in my developing my communities, I just like I said, I just like dope energy. I like real energy. And I'm never going into a situation cultivating anything that doesn't feel organic. So, you know, I don't force anything. So if you allow me to be me and we're flowing, you can connect and we can build to see if you will be tried.
For sure.
Yeah, it's definitely important for me to continue cultivating community with like-hearted people. And also, I honor all sides of myself. So when I'm going out, I want the most ratchet music. Like I'm top down bumping Partisan Fontaine like all the time. So I make sure that when I am getting into community with people, with my like-hearted people, that they're honoring some side of myself that feels good to me, not like pushing up against boundaries or trying to change myself to be in community and connection with people.
Gotcha.
I know for me, because I run our social media, I always follow fitness pages back. As long as we're on the same page. I'm not really, there's a lot of restrictive or like unhealthy, people create unhealthy relationships with food. That's just something I can get behind, so I'm not following you, but I will say that I'm sure those trainers have the same idea. They follow who's in alignment with them. So if a fitness page follows me, I'm following back. I'm engaging with their content because I know that it is hard. It is scary, and it's like some stuff flops. I have reels that have barely any views. I have ones that have, you know, 50K views. You just don't know. So I know how it feels to put yourself out there. And if it's something that I can get behind, I'm always engaging with it, liking, commenting, interacting. And I've like worked out with people and we've done stuff, or we'll talk in the DMs, like, you know, sometimes Tori stuff. And I'm like, thank you. I'm like, she says thank you. Like, I know what you're talking about.
So is it you that talks back, or is it just Tori?
Oh my gosh.
So I
99.9%.
If you send a DM or if you see a comment,
I didn't know who I was.
It's so funny, but depending on what you're asking, I know what you're asking about. Like you were asking, like, oh, where do you train? I know where she trains. What protein powder? Where did she get that product from? I know where she got that product from. Like
guys, we were some professionals.
Yeah. So like when it comes to community, but I will say that when I go out though, thanks, girl. But when I go out though, like, I have a harder time talking about the business. She doesn't.
See, we're still opposite.
Yeah, because whenever you're laying it, I'm like, new follower. All right, Tori, I see you putting us on. For me,
we're very opposite.
I don't know if it's because, like, health is touchy. It's a touchy subject.
Factual.
And I don't want anyone to feel like I'm pushing my services on them. So I don't come out the woodworks like, oh yeah, I'm a nutritionist. You know what I mean? Like when people talk to me about, like I had a coworker that talked to me about how she gained all this weight, but she was talking down on herself, and I was like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. And she's like, oh, most people don't stop me when I do that. I'm like, I'm gonna stop you right there. You don't need to talk down to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, your body carried you through life. Like, honor that. You know what I mean? You were sad. You were being abused at work. Yeah, like, stuff that's gonna impact you physically. And then, like, then we got into a conversation about it. But I don't ever, like, talk about it for real. I just don't. But on social media is where I do a lot of my connecting. Just, you know, commenting on reels or liking stuff or sharing stuff or just interacting with content.
Sure.
And when you post stuff, you know, you get it back on your feed. That's kind of like you were talking about before. Like, your feed can be cultivated to be exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Our business page feed does not look like my personal business, like my personal page.
Yeah.
It's two different things. And now I'm getting to the point where most of the content is that transparency, people showing how their body looks different throughout the day. People are posting, it's the lighting, it's not, you know, things like that, posting what they're eating in a day without making it seem like you have to eat, you know, that's what's going on my feed now. I don't see here's your 1,100 calorie plan. And I'm just like, bruh, why are you, no. So that's pretty much how I do it. For her, she's all in when you out and about. But we also,
opposite.
but think about it, we also look different.
Yeah.
Like, y'all see these abs? So it's just kind of like,
Wait a minute.
I know, bro. I know. When we were shooting, I was like, yo, dang, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and then she's jumping up on it. I should have
naked
seen
right
it. I was like, yo.
and that's a conversation starter for a lot of people all the time. We'll go out. Oh my God, her body is so bomb. I'm like, if you want a body, you know who would do stuff like that?
Extra $10
Like,
you look just like her.
Like, we went to Magic City and the bodyguard, I was like, would you also like to be on the plane? But you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like naturally because of how she looks amazing. She worked hard. So it's a natural start. For me, it's just kind of like, I mean, I think I look good, but it's like not everyone knows. I don't have that trainer body that people see on social media. First of all, it takes years to get there, baby. I just started in 2020, okay?
Yeah.
I got some time.
Yeah.
But, and I think people don't realize that. Like, you don't go the lean body fat, like all that stuff, that doesn't happen overnight.
Factual.
So it's just kind of like, that's not really a conversation starter for me. Now, when I talk about and share my journey on my personal page, people do connect with me because they're like, oh my God, I remember. I was like, hold on, baby. Like, calm down. I know. Don't remind me where I came from. Yeah. But that's how we connect on that line. But when I'm out and about, you think people ask me, oh my God, are you a trainer?
Gotcha. Respect.
But see, I feel like it's twofold for me. So yes, like obviously I don't look like your stereotypical person. But I'm a perfectionist. So we were talking about this a lot earlier. So you would think between the two that I would be the one who would want to post everything on social media because of how I look. And I'm like, no, oh my God, I'm not in shape.
I remember.
When we were shooting together, like, and when you were filming, you were like, you're nervous, like, look at you. And I think because I hear it so much, I'm almost desensitized to it to the point I don't believe it. Like, people are like, oh my God, your body's so amazing. Oh my God, like, you have six-pack abs. And when you hear it so often, I think it does one of two things. You either get a huge ego, or I'm at the end and I'm like my anxiety's so bad, I overthink it. I'm like, do you really think that? Or are you, like, fucking with me? Like, I don't think I'm that great. Like, why do you think I'm that great? Like, you don't think I'm that great. It can't be, because I don't think that. Right. And my friend, he'll say to me all the time, like, every time we go out, and Amber, pretty much any of my friends, you know, they'll always be like, Tori, everybody's looking at you. And I'm like, no, they're not. Like, people aren't looking at me. Because I know, like, with a clear mind, yes, I do not look like the stereotype person, and I also know that I work hard, like, I'm training to be a professional athlete. Like, that is not a norm, so my body isn't going to look like the norm. But because of, I've been doing it for so long, I've looked this way for so long, I don't associate it with, like, these are genuine comments. My brain is like, no, you have so much farther to go, because my standards are so high for myself that they don't know what that looks like. People are, like, in their own, like, because they're people I don't compete with, because their opinions, not to say they don't matter, but it's not in the world that it matters to me. These aren't the people I'm competing against. These aren't the girls putting up 100 pounds more than I am in the gym that I want to be like. Like, I'm like, that's cute. They think I'm in shape. Go find this other girl, and she's 10 times better than me, and I want to be like her. Like, so for me, like, yes, being in public, I do connect with a lot of people because people are just generally fascinated, especially being a female, because you hear all the time girls can't get abs, and then here I am with better abs than most of the population out there, if I'm being honest, men or women. But I think for me,
get them.
But I think for me, the reason I don't like social media is because I'm such a sympathetic person. I love connecting with people emotionally and physically. I don't text. Like, I'm not on social media. I very much have to hear your voice, hear your passion, hear your emotion. So for me, it's a lot easier for me to just go up and talk to a stranger if they come up to me and be like, oh my God, you're in good shape. What do you do? And be like, well, what is it that you want to do? And spark a conversation in person. Because to me, because of how bad my anxiety gets and stuff like that, if like you message me on social media, I'm going to think too much into it and be like, do you actually think so? And I'm just such a private person. Like, I'd rather you come up and get to know my story versus just being like, I think I'm great, because I don't think I'm great. I think, like, I'm like, oh my God,
But you are great.
You're the shit.
You're great. I'm gonna take that one away.
Because I'm such a like competitive person, and
it,
because there's such a high level that I have for myself, I just don't open that door to let people build an ego for me. Like, I block it all out because I don't want to get to that point that I'm like, yeah, I am better than everybody. I don't need to work harder. Because I'm like, no, like I'm not even touching the surface of where I want to be. So for me, that personal connection closes that door that social media can open for someone to mess with my mentality.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Okay, Tori, go ahead.
Yeah.
Now you got to go after that.
I relate to a lot of what you said.
Yeah, but how you build community though, Britt?
Community is a very big aspect for me. I'm naturally an introvert, and I've expressed that through my social media, and left to my own devices, I'll damn near be a hermit. But I know that's not best for my mind. My brand is really all about mind, body, and community, and I think to truly be holistically healthy, you have to have that social aspect. We're not islands to ourselves, and so it requires work actually for me to do that. And so I truly, genuinely put out that effort to do that and build relationships.
For sure.
In our industry, a lot of trainers are trainers because they genuinely enjoy what they do.
Right.
No matter what it is, from training, from being a kickboxing, dancing, all types of things, we're living in our gifts. So when I meet other trainers, a lot of times through social media, I like to connect with them at their level, and maybe sometimes, hey, let's do a workout together, or let's shoot some content together. Let's today I taught a class with my new friend Asia out at Navy Yard, and so community for me helps people. I like to see people work through their gifts, and be a part of that, and I feel empowered from that as well. And so, like, one thing I'm working on is like becoming a corporate wellness powerhouse in DC, where I can find trainers and help them find places in employment and opportunities.
Dope.
And so, so that's how I build community. Giving people, they get something out of it. I feel empowered from that connection. It's mutual. Like, everybody can eat. It's Thanksgiving.
That's dope.
That's important. Like, there's room at the table for all of us.
Factual.
A lot of you think, oh, it's a saturated market, so I can't start my business. No, because
it's not the case.
Yeah, no. There's again, what was your quote about the tea and the tequila?
Not everybody's cup of tea, but I am someone's favorite shot of tequila.
And that is why everyone should try, because it's like, even if you're in this industry and you think that, because you can search balance coach, you're gonna find 100 accounts before you find mine. That doesn't mean that I should never try, that I shouldn't post the reel, that I shouldn't take on the client.
For sure.
Like, I say the same thing. People are going to be attracted to you for your gifts, for your energy.
Factual.
You could have 5 followers and, bring in so many, clients or interest or whatever it is, because they like you. And you are different from you and you and you and you. So you just shoot your shot.
Yeah, like branding. We all are walking brands, right?
Facts.
So you got this water from Wegmans.
Yep.
You know how many types of alkaline water they are?
Yeah.
That does not could stop Wegmans from saying that I'm going to produce alkaline water.
Factual.
When you go to the grocery store, there's literally an aisle for bread, for cookies, for chips.
Don't talk about Amazon.
Baby.
Oh, yeah.
I got all packages on the way.
Yeah, that prom day was crazy. That prom day.
It doesn't so it doesn't stop. You have options. There are things. Do you want wheat bread? Do you want butter bread? Do you want white bread? Do you want this? Do you want chocolate chip cookies? Do you want gluten-free cookies? Yeah. I have something that another person may do, but I do it different because I'm me.
Respect. Absolutely.
And all of us have that in us, and I think a lot of times that stops people from being their true selves, because they get afraid about saturation when they haven't realized that the potential that you have, that's not an oversaturated market, because there's always going to be more people, and there's always going to be more evolution. So put yourself out there, and you never know. I always say, like, there's somebody waiting for you.
Facts.
Don't keep them waiting too long.
Facts.
So we can end it on that. I'm gonna say this. I just want to make sure I say this to you all. I say it to y'all all the time, but I want to say it to you on camera. I am so thankful for the 6 of you all. Well, 7. You too, Ty. You too, right? But yo, y'all, it's been a life-changing experience for me. And the thing I want to make sure that everybody understands, like, that may not know the process, all of you all were so willing from the beginning. Like, from beginning to end, contacting via social media, phone calls, Zoom, whatever it was, y'all were always with the smoke. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, because I think a lot of times, you know, with the way the world is, there's a lot of, like, fences that you used earlier that don't allow us to connect with each other. And, like, I can vividly remember putting it together when I was explaining it to you, like, going on this wellness project journey, like, being terrified sending y'all the message. Like, I can guarantee everybody it took 72 hours for me to press send. I'm like, yeah.
Being nervous before people showed up.
No, but like I talk to Dr. Darryl about this all the time. Like, yo, for y'all to be, this is why I think the world is going to be okay. For y'all to be doing everything y'all do, y'all are such dope souls and humble people at the very end of the day. You feel me? And I don't think a lot of people understand that, like, good people still exist. And good people still do things that matter, and they're still just good people. Absolutely. Like, even talking about the money thing. So, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank y'all. Y'all have made this experience. Y'all wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying? I ain't the crying type, so I didn't get no tears out of it. You know what I mean? But no, I really appreciate y'all, and thank you so much. For real, for real.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure. Millennials versus the world. We out, Ty.
Gang.
Thank y'all so much, man.
Thank you.
We definitely got to get a picture.
Yeah.